Guys, it's Danny. Today we're gonna discuss about my colder growers. We're gonna make a little bit of an update. If you remember, I changed the setup for these guys into something that would keep their root system a little bit cooler, and this is after I had major issues with my Masdevallia orchid, in the sense that I did have her in semi-hydroponics, and when the heat started, when the warmth started actually, I had a lot of leaf dieback, not even leaf tip, but like complete leaf dieback. That is a sign with Masdevallias that it's too warm, things are really not to their liking, so I thought, you know what, I'm gonna try something else. So I moved pretty much all of my colder growing orchids, Masdevallia, the Dendrobium Victoria Reginae, Miltoniopsis, and also the Dendrobium Harveyanum. I switched them to the clay pots that I had remaining since last year with sphagnum moss. Now, of course, I could have used leca as well, but this is a very porous pot. It breathes, it pretty much goes dry very fast. Leca doesn't absorb water, so it wasn't really the perfect combination. I do find that sphagnum moss in combination with the clay pot works a lot better, since sphagnum moss can hold on to a lot more water. So even if the water evaporates, it doesn't do so in a day or two. I can go 5 days with these guys if I leave water in their dishes, and that's what I usually do. You can see here the level. When I water them, I do make sure to wet the entire sphagnum moss, but also I leave water in the tray, and that's how I get 5 days with these guys. If I wouldn't do that, I wouldn't get 5 days. Now, what this does is maintain at least their root system a lot cooler. When I did the setup, I actually measured the temperature with an aquarium thermometer, and the difference was major, 6 degrees Celsius difference between the environment and whatever was inside the pot. So that is pretty impressive. And I think my colder growers are indeed doing better this summer than they did last summer when, if you don't remember, I lost all of my Miltoniopsis, and the Masdevallia, she was unrecognizable. Also, the Dendrobium Victoria Reginae did not respond well to my summer last year. Pretty much all of these orchids would not do so great in my summer. And just a little parenthesis, yes, I know there are climates where summers are very hot. I come from a temperate climate from Romania, and summers are very, very hot there as well. But there's a major difference between this climate and that one, which is the length of the summer. My summer is at least 6 months. High temperatures in Romania were not this lengthy, and also nighttime temperature. In the nighttime, it doesn't really cool off. It still stays pretty warm, so in my grow space, things don't go to 20 degrees or anything. No, they sit at 27 in the nighttime. And I help my grow space with fans, but that's it. It doesn't go down. And this lasts a long time. So this amount of heat for this long without any relief in the nighttime equals not a good time for the cooler growers, but I simply wanted to try it out. So now that you know a little bit about my situation and my climate, let's take a look at these. I'm gonna start with something that is actually in bloom. Okay, so do you remember this one? I purchased her last year, and I suspected it was a Miltoniopsis phalaenopsis hybrid, not the species. I do see traits of that particular species. I do see traits of the Raisley as well, or Roseley, not sure how you pronounce it. So I'm pretty sure it is a commercial hybrid that I did not find the name of just yet. And it managed to bloom. Now, I was waiting for all of these spikes to open because I wanted to have a really pretty skirt. But as you can see, this is the last spike that is opening now, and this one, which was open for the past month and a half, is starting to fade away. So I'm not gonna have a complete show, that is that. But on this side, things look really, really pretty. That is an older spike, and it's already starting to fade. So this one has done pretty well, I have to say. But if you take a closer look at the foliage, you will see I do have cut tips, and this is because I had dieback. You can see some remains of that. Foliage wise, it's not the prettiest thing ever. I discovered that in my conditions, when it gets warm, when spring comes, this one starts to suffer a little bit. I do have some dieback. Hopefully it's gonna be resolved with more moisture and the sphagnum moss right now, but that's what happens in the very warm months. During winter, this orchid was looking fantastic foliage wise as well, but there we have it. The good thing with orchids is that they are adaptable. However, this adaptation doesn't really come overnight. They need to spend at least a year, maybe 2, maybe 3 in a particular environment to properly get adjusted to the temperature and everything in that environment. So she's in my collection for less than a year. I cannot really expect much, I guess, but I am hoping in the future she will get more resistant to this environment as time passes. The new growths, the new pseudobulbs, they are tinier than the previous ones, but not incredibly tiny. It could have been worse. So I'm happy with the evolution so far, even though she's not winning any beauty contests, but she did bloom and she smelled nice. The thing is, the blooms are tinier than when I purchased her, but I do have a lot of flower spikes and they are indeed really, really pretty. I'm hoping that from now on this orchid will do better and the new growths will be bigger and bigger. So at least with this one, I did okay and the evolution is okay. I potted her from semi-hydroponics to this setup as well because it is a lot cooler. And apart from the leaf not looking all that great, the foliage not looking great, I think she's doing okay in adjusting to my environment. So with this one, things are okay so far. We'll see the new growths, how they look like. Regarding the other Miltoniopsis that I recently purchased a month or 2 months ago, they're actually doing pretty well, the vast majority of them, but some will not make it. Some were indeed rescue missions and they didn't really have roots, they didn't really have pseudobulbs, and I can already tell that this one right here, which was the beautiful Cascade one, it's okay. She will not make it. The old pseudobulb, the tiny old pseudobulb, you can see it, it's very, very yellow there. And the new pseudobulb is not looking all that great. Let's see, I think this adjustment will make it so you see things better. You can see these leaves are already oranging or yellowing. With Miltoniopsis, you will have shades of orange rather than yellow when things start to go south. So this one I can already tell she's not going to make it. She didn't really have roots, didn't really have back bulbs to support the growth, new growth. So yeah, this one will not make it, but that's okay. The other ones are actually looking pretty okay, I would say. And yes, we do have here and there a yellow leaf, not this one. Oh, okay, this one fell. So a few older leaves are yellowing, that is okay, but the new growth is on the way and it is actually looking pretty okay. I do expect pleating of the leaves and things of the sorts, that's just something you have to expect. But other than that, I think they look pretty okay, the vast majority of them. Have another one in the back, you can see that's an old leaf starting to yellow there, but the new growths, or the newer pseudobulbs, look okay leaf-wise. And some of these orchids do have pretty advanced new growth, you can see here, but you can also see the accordion-shaped leaves. This is due to the lack of roots or the time that it takes for the new root system to take over. You can see the pseudobulb is not shriveled and also the moss is wet, but the new growth is still shriveled. This is because the roots, even though they might be present, might not function to their full capacity. So again, stuff like this is normal, especially with the cool growers. Now let's take a look at the Dendrobium harveyanum, if you mind. There we go. This guy is putting on new growth right here next to my finger. Alrighty, this is very overexposed right now, but it is the only way that I can show you this new growth. You have to understand something about cameras. They don't necessarily pick up 100% what you see in reality. Depends on many things that I will not go into, so sometimes I do have to boost the exposure to show you details which are very obvious in real time, but not so obvious on camera. And let's say this would be a more realistic look. This is how my hand naturally looks like, but you can see the new growth just went invisible. So I do have to apply these tricks just to show you stuff. So this is a new growth which the other half of this Dendrobium did not produce just yet, the one that I left in semi-hydroponics. So maybe it does appreciate this cooler setup, which would be great. This Dendrobium is actually a cooler grower. That's why I placed one in this setup and the other one in the semi-hydro. I had 2 plants. This is the Victoria Reginae. Oh my goodness, last year I was boasting about making a video about easy species for beginners. Oh my goodness, in the winter time this orchid did fantastic. I was like, why is everybody complaining about the Dendrobium Victoria Reginae? It's the easiest thing. And then spring came and summer and things went south. So yeah, I can understand why some people have issues with this orchid. I have issues too, but now I think he's recovering. He lost his newer growth last year, and this is a second type of new growth. In the meantime, the orchid lost roots as well in the heat, and it's just now that it's starting to actually grow something. This new growth here, which doesn't look the bravest, is still something. It's a very, very big improvement, and it all happened ever since I put this orchid in the sphagnum moss and clay pot. So I'm guessing I'm on the right track. It's certainly much, much, much better than semi-hydroponics for me. Usually this orchid should do great in semi-hydro if you don't live in a very, very hot climate, such as I do. In the back here, oh, this is the Oncidopsis francis. She was doing okay in semi-hydro, but not incredibly well, as does my Nellie Eiler, which I'll show you in a second. This is actually a very close relative to the Nellie Eiler. Well, ever since I switched her to this cooler setup, she started to put out roots like crazy there in the moss. I saw them, and she is developing finally. These new growths, of course, they will not look the prettiest. That is okay. I am actually interested in the root system at this point. When you deal with stuff like this, which you know is finicky, you cannot expect beautiful growth in the first year or in the second year, maybe the third year, let's say. So all I want to do is just save this orchid because I absolutely love the color of it. And if I have to endure a few years of weird growth until this orchid gets adjusted to my climate and picks up growth, that's okay. I'm willing to do that. So that was the Francine. Did I say Francis? She's the Francine. And this is my Masdevallia. Oh yes, I'm growing Masdevallias in this climate. I actually didn't purchase this. I received it from one of you lovely people, and I feel always so guilty when one of the orchids you sent doesn't do good. So yeah, with the Masdevallia, oh, there was such a history. One day I'll make the story of my Masdevallia. When I received her, she was almost gone because she spent 1 month on transport in full summer. And then I babied her, and I grew her in a clay pot with Ceramis, and she did beautifully over the winter. She looked like a prize-winning orchid. Not really, but that's how it felt like because the difference was just so impactful. And then summer came last year, and I put her in semi-hydro for added humidity, and it was just devastating for her. I don't think she suffered because of the lack of humidity. Oh, and P.S., my climate is humid. I live on an island. It's always humid, so that's great. So it wasn't an issue of humidity and hydration with her in semi-hydro. I think it was temperature related because the clay pot actually maintains her roots a lot cooler. So I moved her from semi-hydro to this pot when she did not have all of these new leaves, which is growing. She only had these ones, and look at this. Lots of dieback, lots of, yeah, very tiny leaves, as you can see. But ever since I switched her to this setup, she put out quite a bit of new growth, and even though these leaves are still curled, they're just growing actually. They will fan out, if you will. They're new leaves, they're still growing, and she looks a lot better. And yes, of course, this is not the most perfect climate for her, but I'm doing my best. I have my fans. I'm going to put the humidifier as well. I'm not sure if I'm gonna put the humidifier, to be honest, because I have a lot of humidity and I don't want to add humidity because it's gonna be weird with mold issues and stuff if I overdo it. I just wanted to decrease temperature at this point for her, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna think about it. She is actually looking a lot better, and yeah, I can't believe I saved her again. This is the second time I save her. If she does like this setup, she's never going out of sphagnum moss. She's never going in semi-hydro, sadly. And yeah, hopefully we'll do better from now. Things are looking bright. And I have a few more things that are cooler growing, like this Nellie Eiler, which is struggling to bloom. I think I'm just going to cut this flower spike. Again, I purchased her last year. She was the under the bench orchid in a flower shop. Saw her under the bench, purchased her at a very discounted price, put her in semi-hydro, and she is doing okay. But yeah, I don't think she likes it all that much, simply because this is not a cool environment for her. The roots are simply not cool enough. So I'm thinking I will switch my Nellie Eilers, both of them that I still have and are alive. I'm gonna switch them to this setup and see how they do. So this again is in my care for less than a year. She tried to bloom. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut that flower spike because this is just, it hurts me to look at it. And she is growing a new growth there, which is nice. So I'm thinking I'm going to repot her very soon, cut the flower spike, and I'm going to do the same for the other one in the back, which was in bloom, and now the blooms are spent. And yeah, that's what we do with the cool growers in the summertime. Now, if you have a very, very warm climate, why bother with cool growers when, it's not working? Well, the thing is, these are not necessarily cool growers. They're more cool to intermediate growers. And they actually can be grown in a house if you can meet their requirements. And they can actually adapt to more warm temperatures. The process, though, it's just long. And actually, you can do a lot with changing the setup and offering lower temperatures at a root level at least. I'm very convinced of that because of my Masdevallia. When she was in semi-hydro, it was absolutely horrible. I was just watching leaf after leaf fall. It was absolutely amazing. And ever since I switched her, I'm seeing new leaves just growing bigger and bigger. She's obviously improved. She obviously prefers this to semi-hydroponics, and I think it just has to do with the humidity at this point. It's not even about leca or clay in general, because I had her in ceramicin clay in my mix and in a clay pot, and she did wonderful. She grew a lot of roots, and at some point she just started to drink too much water for my taste. And I didn't like the clay pot, so I switched her. It was a bad idea, actually. She didn't really like it, even though I didn't damage the root system. But there we have it. So this has been the update of my cooler growing orchids. So far so good. It's only been a few months in this setup. I think they like it. It's the middle of summer. It's the hottest right now. July and August here in my climate are the hottest months. But if I help them a little bit with the AC that maintains the temperature at least at 28 degrees Celsius with my fans and the setup, I think I can pull through summer with them and acclimate them gradually to my conditions. And keeping in mind, it's only been a few months since I have them, and they're starting to grow roots and new growths in this temperature, that's very encouraging, and things can only get better from here. So alrighty guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope this gave you an idea if you've always struggled with cooler growers and you still have one very poor looking cool grower. Get a clay pot, get some sphagnum moss and try it out. Even if you don't have sphagnum moss, the clay pot will actually maintain things a lot cooler, so you can put their bark if you prefer bark, or even in organic, you just need to water more. I use sphagnum moss because of the water issue, but yeah, give it a go. Maybe it will save your orchid. I know that it does wonders for me in this climate, so I don't know how much worse than my climate can get when it comes to temperatures. So alrighty guys, thank you again for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this and it gave you some ideas or inspired you to try out something. And you know the drill. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe to my channel for regular orchid videos, tutorials, updates, experiments, Q&As, all that fun stuff. And if you'd like YouTube to notify you whenever I upload a new video, just turn on notifications for my channel. And hopefully YouTube will let you know. And with that said, I'll see you all next time. Bye!